Welcome to Making a Murderer, Rubberducky YouTube channel. Ooh, there's the train. Welcome back, you guys. Hey, you're going to get a review today, so that's really good. We have a review at the end of this one. We step away a little bit from the interview and get the responses. This is our CASO Investigative Reports, and this is part 52. Page 511. Weird. Did he say if he took any of her valuables, any money, anything like that? Brendan, no. Weird. Did you ask him about it? Brendan, no. Fassbender, do you have trouble sleeping that night? Brenda, sort of. Weird. Why? Brendan, trying to figure out why he did it. Fassbender, did you ever ask him after that night why he did it? Brendan, no. Weird. Are you doing okay? Do you need a soda or something? Brendan, no. Weird. Or take a break or anything? Weird. I have nothing further. Fassbender, is there anything else you want to say, Brendan, to the, this is being recorded, to the recording or anything? Brendan, no. Fassbender, I know this is very difficult and you're a brave boy for doing what you did. Weird. Is everything you told Agent Fassbender and myself the truth? Brendan, yeah. Weird. Did you lie at all during this conversation? Page 512. Brendan, no. Weird. Have you lied to us at all about anything you told us? Brendan, no. Weird. I appreciate you being honest, all right? We know this was difficult for you. Do you have any questions? Brendan, Fassbender, nope, I don't have anything else. Weird. Okay. Pause. I'm going to sign this in front of you as a witness, though. Okay, just so you're aware of it, and the date. Want to put the date in there and the time. Pause. Thank you, Brendan. Brendan, no problem. Weird. Brendan, I'm sorry. This is the end of the interview with Brendan Dassey at the Two Rivers Police Department. Mark Weigert, Investigator, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 513. Type of activity, supplemental report, date of activity 02/27/06, reporting officer, Sergeant Bill Tyson. On Monday, 02/27/06 at approximately 1500 hours, I, Sergeant Bill Tyson of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, was notified by Sheriff Jerry Pogel that there was a new development in this investigation. Sheriff Pogel did request that I assist the investigators with the ongoing investigation. Sheriff Pogel informed me that information he received was possibly a knife under the front seat of Teresa's vehicle. I did respond to the location of Teresa's vehicle with Deputy Jeremy Hawkins. Other officers present were Investigator John Dietering, Sheriff Jerry Pogel, Investigator Wendy Baldwin, and Investigator Gary Steyer. At approximately 16:15 hours, Deputy Hawkins did remove the lock to the door where Teresa's vehicle was being stored. At approximately 16:17 hours, Deputy Hawkins did open the front door to Teresa's vehicle and did enter to look under the front seat for the knife. Deputy Hawkins informed me he did not locate any knife under the driver's seat of Teresa's vehicle. We then went to the rear of the vehicle and opened the latch to the back of the vehicle and did not observe any knife in the rear portion of Teresa's vehicle. Deputy Hawkins also checked under the front passenger seat for a knife and was unable to locate a knife. All doors to Teresa's vehicle were closed and we did exit the storage facility at 16:26 hours. I then responded to the Mishcot Fire Department to meet with Investigator Weigert and other investigators working on this investigation. Upon arriving at the Mishcot Fire Department, I was informed by Investigator Weigert that he did wish for me to stay at the fire department with Barb Yonda and her son, Brendan Dassey. Arrangements were ultimately made for Barb Yonda and her son, Brendan Dassey, to go to Fox Hill Resort for the evening. Investigator Weigert did transport Barbara and her son Brendan to the Fox Hill Resort, and I did follow. A room was secured at the Fox Hill Resort for Barbara and Brendan until interviews could be completed by the investigators. Investigator Dietering did telephone me and did request that I ask Brendan if he observed Steven Avery's burn barrel burning on Halloween night in 2005. Investigator Dietering also requested that I asked Brendan if he saw Steven with an edged weapon or if he had seen him shoot a .22 caliber gun. Page 514. Upon speaking with Brendan, I asked him if he observed Steven's burn barrel burning on Halloween night or the next day, and Brendan informed me he did not recall that. Barbara also informed me she could not recall if the burn barrel was burning on Halloween night or the next day. I asked Brendan if he had seen Steven with an edged weapon on that evening, and Brendan told me he did not. I asked Brendan if he had ever seen Steven shoot a .22 caliber gun. Brendan told me he did not recall at any time seeing Steven shoot a firearm. Sergeant Bill Tyson, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 515. Type of activity, interview of Brian J. Dassey. Date of activity, 02-2706. Reporting officer, investigator Wendy Baldwin. On 02-2706 at approximately 1956 hours, I, Investigator Baldwin, of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, along with Special Agent Matt Joy of DCI, made contact with Brian J. Dassey at 2019 Granger Road in the city of Manitowoc. I spoke with Brian about his relationship with his brother Brendan. Brian said he is not very close to Brendan or his mother and does not talk much to his older two brothers. He said he usually just comes home, gets clothes, and leaves again to go by his girlfriend's house. I informed Brian of the information that Brendan had said about the night of 10/31/05. I gave Brian details on what Brendan had seen in the fire and the comments that Steven had made to him that night. I asked Brian if he could explain his activities on 10/31/05. Brian said the night before he had slept by his girlfriend's house and went from there to work. Brian said he was home by 5 o'clock and that Bobby, Blaine, and Brendan were home at that time. He doesn't remember exactly what they were doing, but may have been playing video games. Brian said he took a shower and got ready to go by his girlfriend's house. He said he overheard Brendan talking with Steven about needing some help doing something between 6:30 and 7. Brian said he left to go by his girlfriend's house. Prior to leaving, Brian did notice that there was smoke coming from behind Steven's garage, but did not think much of it. I asked Brian how many times Steven had burned in that pit, and he said about once or twice a month. Brian said the reason why he did not think anything of it was because Joshua Randett, the owner of the gravel pit, was clearing brush, and Steven had offered to burn that for him. Brian went on to say that the entire evening he had spent with his girlfriend. He then went on to work the next day and did not return home. Brian described Steven as always having a bad temper, and it seemed to him that he was getting more angry about the business and activities in the yard. Brian said Steven had told him he could kill someone and get away with it. Brian said Steven also made comments about stealing from people, and nobody would know that he did. Page 516. I asked Brian who he had thought Steven was the closest with in the family, and he had said probably us because we would take care of him. Steven, however, did not like Earl and threatened to, quote, kick his ass because of the turmoil with the business in the yard. I asked Brian if he could remember anything strange that had stuck out in his mind during that time or after Halloween. He said that the incident when Bobby had hung the deer in his mom's garage, Brian said he did not hear it directly from Steven. However, Bobby had told him a couple months ago when Bobby and his friend Michael Osmondson were hanging the deer. Steven made the comment that he needed help getting rid of the body. Brian also said that weekend they went up north, Steven was acting quite strange. This would have been the weekend of November 4th, 2005. They had planned 3 or 4 days in advance to go up north that weekend. Brian said Steven was acting very odd and that he was looking down a lot, that he may have done something, or he said he did not feel good or had a headache. Brian said Steven never was one to lie down and complain he did not feel good. Even with a headache, he would go out and work. Brian said it seemed like once they got up north, he fell apart and he was not acting himself. Brian said when they were in the back wooded area behind the cabin, Earl had his flatbed truck in the area with the scanner. Charles had overheard that Marionette County was coming to their property, and Stephen panicked and jumped in his truck, and Brian said he hauled ass to the cabin with Charles. Brian said when they got back, Stephen seemed very panicked and that he was going to take off. Brian said his grandfather told him if he didn't do anything that he should not run. Brian said, however, Stephen looked panicked and had wanted to run away. Brian said he could not recall any activity after that because he had stayed by his girlfriend's house during the time the police were doing the search warrants. I provided Brian with my business card and advised him in case he happened to remember anything to contact me. The interview was concluded at approximately 20:37 hours. Investigator Wendy Baldwin, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 517. Type of activity, receipt of correspondence from Jody Stachowski. Date of activity 02/27/06. Reporting officer, investigator John Dietering. Documents generated, one-page correspondence from Jody Stachowski. On Monday, 02/27/06, I, Dietering, did receive an envelope from the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, addressed to the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, Detective Division CO John Dietering. This envelope had been transported from Manitowoc Sheriff's Department by Deputy Rogers. The envelope contained a Manitowoc County Jail request form from Jody Stachowski addressed to the jail administration. On the request form was written, I prefer not to have any more detectives visit me in regards to Steven Avery. I want to decline all visits upon release. I'm underway too much stress at this time and really need this, please. Thank you. This was signed by Jody Stachowski, dated 02/24/06. The envelope, along with the correspondence, can be found incorporated into the exhibit section of this incident. John Dietering, investigator, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 518. Type of activity, interview with Bobby Dassey. Date of activity 02/27/06. Reporting officer, investigator John Dietering. Documents generated, none. On Monday, 02/27/06 at 17:26 hours, various members of the Wisconsin Department of Criminal Investigation and the Calumet County Sheriff's Department did meet at the Mishicot Fire Department. The purpose of our meeting was to view a videotaped interview done by Special Agent Tom Fassbender and Investigator Mark Weger on a subject named Brendan R. Dassey on 02/27/06. According to information I had obtained from Weger, Dassey had made some statements with regard to Steven Avery's disposal of Teresa Halbach, as well as who was responsible for her death. While waiting for other members of the interview team to arrive, I did assist Investigator Baldwin with the interview of Barbara Yonda. For details of this, please see the report of Investigator Baldwin. Special Agent Michael Sassy and I did locate Bobby Dassey at the residence of Dwayne Osmondson, 5017 Nuclear Road in the Mishicot area at 19:55 hours. Sassy and I asked Bobby Dassey if he had some time to speak with us, and he indicated he did. We then went out to the county vehicle, which I was operating, and Bobby Dassey did have a seat in the front passenger side, and Special Agent Sassy climbed into the rear passenger side. Prior to asking Dassey any questions, he was advised that he was not under arrest, did not have to answer questions if he chose not to, and was free to leave at any time he so wished. I asked him to open the passenger front door of the vehicle in order to demonstrate to him that he was perfectly free to leave. He understood this and agreed to answer questions. We went over his activities to the best of his recollection on Monday, 10/31/05. He stated that he arrived home from work at approximately 06:30 hours. It should be noted that Dassey was employed at Fisher Hamilton in Two Rivers at this time, and he went to bed. He stated that he got up between 1400 and 1430 hours, got into the shower, and went bow hunting. He stated he arrived home somewhere approximately 1730 hours, and that it was dark already. He stated he did not recall who was home when he arrived. He thought perhaps Brendan was. He stated that when he arrived home, He went straight to bed and did not eat. He stated he got up at approximately 2100 hours, got ready for work, and once again did not eat. He stated that, to the best of his recollection, Blaine was home and possibly Brendan as well. He stated that his older brother Brian was not at home and was possibly at his girlfriend's residence. Page 519. Bobby indicated that when he was leaving for work at approximately 21:30 hours, he noticed that Steven was having a bonfire. He estimated that the flames were 5 to 6 feet in height. He stated that it was a good-sized fire and that Steven has had fires there in the past. He stated that he could not say for sure that Steven was tending to the fire, and he was further unsure whether Brendan was there or not. He stated that the view from his residence to the fire pit is somewhat blocked by the garage of Steven Avery. He stated that he worked from 2200 hours until 0600 hours the following day. When he arrived home, he noted nothing unusual and that the fire was out. I asked Bobby if his brother Brendan was one to lie about things, and he stated that Brendan would possibly lie about little things. I asked him if Brendan would lie about anything concerning the Halbach murder investigation, and he stated that he would not lie about this. I asked Bobby if he has noticed any changes in Brendan, and his response was, "Not really." When I asked him if Brendan had been depressed recently, he stated that he was a little depressed. Bobby indicated that Brendan has not discussed anything regarding what he may have seen in the fire pit on 10/31/05 or what Steven may have told Brendan. Bobby indicated that his brother Brendan likes to play basketball games and racing games on their PlayStation 2. He states that he does not play with others, but prefers to compete by himself on the machine. I asked Bobby if he could recall once again what he saw regarding Teresa Halbach and her vehicle. He stated that while he was preparing to go bow hunting on 10/31/05, he observed Teresa's vehicle pull in, and he observed Teresa get out and take 1 or 2 photos of the maroon van, which his mother had for sale. Bobby said that this was prior to him getting into the shower. He stated that when he got out of the shower approximately 10 minutes later, he brought his bow out to the vehicle and Teresa's vehicle was still there, but he did not see her. He stated that she was wearing a black coat, black trousers, and he cannot recall what color her top was. Dassey drew me a diagram indicating that the Halbach vehicle was pointed in a westerly direction, almost directly across from the westernmost portion of the Barbianda circular driveway. Bobby stated that the vehicle was gone when he got back from hunting. Page 520. I asked Bobby about the position of the Suzuki Samurai. Bobby thought, to his best recollection, the Suzuki was in the garage for a while, and he was unsure when Steven moved it out of the garage. He stated he was never in the garage when the Suzuki was parked in the garage. And he stated that he could no longer independently recall where the Suzuki was positioned when he left for hunting. I asked Bobby Dassey who his brother Brendan might confide in, and he indicated that the only person he could think of was Brendan's friend, Travis Fabian, whose father, Robert Fabian, is a friend of Earl Avery. I asked Bobby if he could recall the burn barrel in front of Steven's residence burning when he left for hunting, and he stated he could not independently recall this. Agent Sassy asked Bobby Dassey if he could ever recall Steven Avery shooting a .22 at the burn barrel or anything else in the immediate vicinity of Steven Avery's residence. Bobby indicated he could not recall anything like this except for one occasion. Sassy asked Dassey if he could recall Steven Avery in possession of a buck knife or a Leatherman, and Bobby Dassey could not recall that. Bobby Dassey indicated that he doesn't recall Brendan or Steven acting any differently after the October 31st incident. He further indicated he could not recall any sort of injury to Steven's arms or hands on October 31st. John Dietering, investigator, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. All right, we get to do a review today. We're on page 515. So, in Brendan's coercion, they have the idea that there's some sort of a knife that's stored in Teresa's vehicle that was used to kill Teresa. So they're now going over to pull the RAV back into the Calumet County Maintenance Department, and they're going to go over the RAV and try and find a knife in the RAV. Now, my question is, if there was a knife in the RAV, wouldn't they have found it by now? We're in February, but okay. Now I want to talk about why are all the bolts out of the vehicle. So you look at the dashboard, we're missing all the screws and the bolts to keep that on. We're missing side panels in the back, bolts around the doors and stuff, panels. Are they looking for drugs? I'm just asking. Are they using the knife to look for drugs? That's my big question. And then we go to the arrangements were ultimately made for Barb Yonda and her son Brendan to go to Fox Hills Resort. Why? If you look at the bottom part, this is where Tyson gives it up. A room was secured at Fox Hills Resort for Barbara and Brendan until interviews could be completed by investigators. So, this is the same day that Brendan has just being pulled out of school. He's being taken straight to the Mishcut Fire Department, the Manitowoc Police Department. Then they're taken back to this place, and now they're taken to Fox Hills, and they're going to continue to coerce him until the interview is done. Brendan is asked about the burning barrel. He doesn't remember anything, neither does Barb. Brendan's asked if Steven was seen with an edged weapon. He says no, he did not see that. And they ask him, Brendan, Bill asked him, have you ever seen Steven shoot a .22 gun? And Brendan says he's never seen Steven shoot a firearm. Yeah. Page 515, it's Brian Dassey. Now, Brian's got a little bit grudge going against the family. He doesn't talk to his mom or his brothers or his any of his family, really. He gets out of there, goes to his girlfriends a lot, doesn't seem to enjoy anybody. He did notice there was smoke coming from behind Steven's garage. However, he didn't worry about it. Why? Because he said he was quite aware that Josh Randit, remember, Randit is where the deer camp is. Joshua Randit is the one that reported Steve had a fire and he could see it from the deer camp and all this. Well, it turns out the owner of the gravel pit, Josh Randit, was clearing brush, and Steven had offered to burn that brush for him. So he knew why there was some burning. Brian stated Steven had told him he could kill someone and get away with it. I hate to tell you guys this, but a lot of people on the planet have said that, especially if you're just joking around and stuff, could have been said years ago. Who knows? It's just silly. They're just picking. But there is something very important here on page 516. This is why I'm giving Brian such a rough time. He talks about he could remember anything strange that stuck out in his mind at that time or after Halloween. I don't know why they don't pin down the exact date this happened, because we have, and it's very easy to do. So here's the deal. Steven was arrested 11/9 and gone. Not back on that property ever again. So it had to happen before 11/9. Mike Osmundson said in his interviews that he was there 11/10, and that's when he heard the joke. How did he hear Steven make that joke when Steven was in jail at that time? So the only other time Mike has said that he was on the property is 10/31. And who's all making a joke about getting rid of the body? Now it takes a whole new context, because it's on the day that Teresa Halbach goes missing. Her phone stops. This is why Bobby and Mike Osmundson are my two biggest, Denny suspects. They draw me in, and I want to know who. Brian, did you know something? Because you heard them talking. And it was strange, he said. And it was during that time or after Halloween? Well, it wasn't after, because Steven wouldn't have been there. Interesting. Brian said when they got back, Steven seemed very panicked and that he was going to take off. Well, he had just heard that the police had come over the scanners and they're basically going to be picking them up. He was wrongfully convicted for a crime he didn't commit. Now, Papa Allen, he tells him, stay put. It'll be all right. But it's not. On 5/17, we have just a note from Jody. She waits until February to finally tell the detectives that she doesn't want to have any more visits. So she waits till almost the end of February. 5/18, big interview here. Bobby Dassey. Same date. They find him where? You got it. At Mike Osmunsen's house. Mike Osmunsen and Bobby are like two peas in a pod. They're best friends, and they hunt all the time together. And they make a lot of jokes about hiding bodies, apparently. Bobby Stacy gets home at 6:30. He went to bed. He got up around 2:30. He takes a shower and went bow hunting. He says at about 5:30 p.m. that it was already dark outside. He got home, went straight to bed, and did not eat. He got up at approximately 9 o'clock, got ready for work, and once again did not eat. Okay, why is he never hungry? Just asking you guys. Is he on drugs or something? Is that what this is about? That he doesn't have an appetite? And where's the part about the car? So here we go. He talks about at 9:30 at night, all of a sudden, now he sees bonfire that was 5 to 6 feet high. Probably was the brush somewhere over towards Steven's area. He doesn't even know because he can't see because of the garage. Well, if it was behind the garage, you'd be able to see it from the Dassey residence. So it's not right behind the garage. Where's there another burn place? I'm going to scroll through this. Where's the part about him seeing... trying to see, is there anything in here? No. Are you guys seeing anywhere where he sees a girl? And she's taking pictures? Oh, here it is. He almost forgot to mention that, didn't he? How interesting. So, we're at the bottom of the interview. At the end of the interview, Bobby said that this was prior to him getting in the shower. So before he got in the shower, he observed Teresa's vehicle pull in. He observed Teresa get out and take 1 or 2 photos of the maroon van, which his mother had for sale. Bobby said this was prior to him getting into the shower. He took a 10-minute shower. Now today, it's 10 minutes. He brought his bow out to the vehicle, and he says Teresa's vehicle was still there, but they didn't see her. He said that she was wearing a black coat, black trousers, not jeans, black trousers. And he can recall what color. He could not recall what color. So she's all in black. Black coat, black trousers. It's kind of strange. It looks like the picture with her RAV where she's in black and black. 5:20. Brendan's friend, Travis Fabian, whose father, Robert Fabian, is friends with Earl Avery. This is Brendan's friend. Not good, not good, not good. We know that Earl and Steven have a severe rivalry to the point that there's no telling what they're going to do to each other. It doesn't look like Steven does much other than threaten and get mad, use words, but Earl's constantly going to the police and the investigators and throwing Steven under the bus. All right, guys, thanks for that review. Happy to provide it. Unfortunately, we're going to be getting back into the Brendan interviews. I love you guys a lot. I do miss doing the reviews. I'm just not going to hash through the emotional part of Brendan's reviews. But when we get to these type of things, removal of the seats of Teresa's vehicle, which is coming up next, tomorrow, we'll go over it. Thanks very much. Thank you on joining me for part 52, which was pages 511 through 520. Well, here it is. You can see they've removed the screws and bolts from this vehicle. Someone has. Is this when they say they're looking for the knife? The question is, what are they really looking for? Are they looking for that stuff? Are they thinking there's more to this in the RAV? Why wouldn't they just use a drug dog, though? Okay, you guys, thank you so much for your support of Brendan and Steven as we work through this. I know it's a rough week, and the CASO isn't an easy job to do. I thank you guys for sticking with me on that, and that I'm not alone as we travel through the research. Being an armchair sleuth can be very frustrating, honestly, and you know that too. All the support we do, and being a researcher and finding this evidence, it can be demoralizing when you watch a child that has mental deficiencies going through and struggling, and they're doing all the talking, the investigators. So what a coercion. Congratulations, you guys can coerce a child. All right, guys, sorry. I don't mean to end on such a negative note. I'm just frustrated, and you know that. We're going to get through this. So we have some great things coming up. We have another field trip planned for you guys. We're going to take the case in a completely different direction here very quickly on some new information. We're not sure if it's relevant, but I will tell you this. It's somehow connected in some way, and I fear it's in a big way. So it could be a revelation, or it could be a dead end. But we're going to check into it, and we're going to take you along on the trip. So it's time, you guys. If you didn't do the crime, then you shouldn't do the time. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.